First of all, thank you so much for this great invitation. It's a pity I'm online. I want to be face to face with you, but okay, it's impossible now. So I will talk about emerging non-dialytic strategy in removing uremic toxin. I'm Denise Mafra from Rio de Janeiro, and I will talk. Oh, just a minute about uremic toxin in chronic kidney disease patients. As you know, the patients with chronic kidney disease accumulate many uremic toxin, and this uremic toxin is involved with many, just a minute, with many complications in our patients. So like oxidative stress and inflammation. So this uremic toxin, for example, can activate NF-kappa B and increase the synthesis of cytokines. Also, they can activate the oxidative stress, increase reactive oxygen species, and so is linked to oxidative stress, lipid peroxidation, and also we have this strong link with inflammation. With this, we have endothelial dysfunction, atherosclerosis, and a high mortality, cardiovascular disease mortality. We have, with this, as a consequence of this increased levels of uremic toxin, we have problems in the kidney. So we have kidney damage and CKD progression. Also, as I told you, uremic toxin are involved with atherosclerosis, cardiovascular disease, and mortality, endothelial dysfunction, etc. So, and endocrine problems, immune system, as I show you, inflammation, and many other problems that we can see in patients with chronic kidney disease. So the uremic toxin are involved with a higher mortality and lower quality of life in our patients. So here I can show you many uremic toxins that are accumulated in patients with chronic kidney disease, and some of them can be removed by hemodialysis process. But I will focus this lecture in the uremic toxin produced by gut microbiota. So remember that this uremic toxin are linked with protein. So 80% are protein bound. So I can show some of them, like indoxyl sulfate, picrisyl sulfate, and many others, uremic toxin and TMAO that are produced by gut microbiota. Also, we can see that patients accumulate cytokines, and all this is involved with many complications in our patients. But here, I will talk about gut dysbiosis and the patients with chronic kidney disease, and focus on the uremic toxin that are produced by this gut dysbiosis. So in patients with chronic kidney disease, they can have a low fiber intake, metabolic acidosis. They use a lot of antibiotic, phosphate binder, and many other drugs that can promote an imbalance of gut microbiota, and also increasing intestinal excretion of urea. All this together increase the production of uremic toxin because they promote an imbalance of gut microbiota. So we can have more lipopolysaccharides, so LPS production from bacteria, for example, and many uremic toxin that I will explain for you. And with this gut dysbiosis, we have a reduction of short-chain fatty acid. These fatty acids are very important to maintain this barrier intact. So when you have this mass in our patients, we have a high permeability, and the uremic toxin can increase, entrance. and promote an inflammation. So, for example, this LPS, when is linked to the tool-like receptor 4, can activate NF-kappa B and increase the cytokine production and increase inflammation. All these are involved with cardiovascular complications in our patients. So again, I can show you that when we have this gut dysbiosis, we increase the production of uremic toxin here. I can say these two toxins like indoxyl sulfate and picoxyl sulfate, they are bound to albumin, and it's more difficult to be excreted by dialysis or even by the kidney when we are talking the conservative treatment or the stages before dialysis treatment. So, and this is important it's important to notice that the gut microbiome or gut microbiota, when this amino acid, for example, tyrosine or phenylalanine or tryptophan, choline, L-carnitina are in the gut, they can be fermented by gut microbiota and produce picoxyl sulfate, indoxyl sulfate, indole acetic acid, and trimethylamine. So they are uremic toxins, so that I told you, produced by gut microbiota, and they can enter in the blood and cause many complications in our patients. The kidney dysfunction, the endothelial dysfunction, and cardiovascular disease. So I'm here only about this, the strategy to modulate this uremic toxin levels in our patients with chronic kidney disease. So we can start with medicine. So we have some medicine, for example, antibiotic, they can reduce the uremic toxin production because they destroy the gut microbiota composition. So it's not a good option to reduce uremic toxin by using antibiotic. So we can also have another drugs that can modulate gut microbiota. For example, metformin. So this drug for diabetes can increase this kind of bacteria and the strength. So this is important for the gut microbiota balance. Also, we have another treatment to modulate the gut microbiota, so genetically engineered bacteria, for example, or fecal microbiota transplantation. This is another interesting strategy to modulate this gut microbiota, the uremic toxin, by modulation gut microbiota composition. Still, we have this indole absorbent like AST 120. So this can inhibit the absorption of indole in the blood of patients with chronic kidney disease. So can reduce the production of indoxyl sulfate, for example. So can be interesting to use this kind of drugs. But the nutritional strategies are more important because they can show you that all this uremic toxin, for example, indoxyl sulfate, indole acetic acid, picoxyl sulfate, even urea as uremic toxin, and TMAO, they can produce it by site. So the protein fermentation increases the production of this uremic toxin in the gut. So, of course, we can have some strategy to decrease the production of uremic toxin production by the gut microbiota. So indeed, it's important to know that the diet is the primary driver of the gut microbiota. Of course, we can, and as I told you, some drugs can modulate microbiota, geography, life cycle stages, birthing process, and the feeding method, or stress, physical activity, and many other can modulate gut microbiota. But the diet is the primary driver of gut microbiota. So we discussed this in this link between food and microbiota in this review that we call Food as Medicine. So when you have an unhealthy diet with a lot of sugar, salt, processed food, a lot of red meat, for example, we can increase the production of LPS and uremic toxin because we promote a gut microbiota imbalance. And with this, we have activation of inflammasome, for example, NF-kappa B, that are involved with inflammatory cytokines. On the other hand, when the patients have a healthy diet with fruits, vegetables, and many phenolic compounds, we can promote a gut microbiota balance. So we can increase the phenolic metabolites, decrease uremic toxin, and more important, increase short-chain fatty acid production. With this, we have a modulation of mitochondria, decreasing oxidative stress, and increase the activation of NRF2 is a very important factor that can increase the production of many antioxidants in the cells, so reducing the inflammation in our patients. But I will talk about probiotic, prebiotic, symbiotic, and food as a strategy to decrease uremic toxin or modulate the gut microbiota in our patients. So does probiotic work? So what is probiotic? So probiotics are defined by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations and the World Health Organization as a living organism that provide health benefits in the host when consumed in the appropriate quantity. So probiotic is the strain, is the bacteria. So when we provide this for our patients. So I can show you this study is around 10 years ago. So the authors, they gave for the patients this strains, so 3 of them, and they observed that there was no significant change in uremic toxins or inflammatory markers in patients undergoing dialysis using this probiotic. Again, in this study from my group, Natalia was my PhD student, so she offered the same product with these 3 strains for patients with chronic kidney disease and undergoing hemodialysis. And this study showed that this strain increased the uremic toxin like indoxyl sulfate. So after the use of probiotic, the uremic toxin indoxyl sulfate levels were increased. So they used it for 2 months, and the treatment with probiotic increased indoxyl sulfate. This was another study from our group, but now in non-dialysis chronic kidney disease patients, and my PhD students also gave the same probiotics for our patients, and they didn't see any change in indoxyl sulfate, bicrysyl sulfate, indole acetic acid, TMAO. So the levels were not changed in the probiotic group, even in the placebo group. But see what happened with interleukin-6. After the probiotic use, the interleukin-6 levels increased significantly. So they increase inflammation in our patients. This study was performed in 2020. It was in hemodialysis patients. They gave this kind of strain for patients for 3 months, and they did not observe any change in species, richness, and diversity when you talk about gut microbiota. But they observed a reduction in this uremic toxin after 3 months using this probiotic. And they also observed a change in the community gut microbiota community composition. This study was published in 2022 in non-dialysis patients. So the glomerular filtration rate was less than 25. And they, first of all, they prescribed a low protein diet for 2 months for these patients. So they observed after 2 months with only low protein diet. So low protein diet works in our patients. So they observed a reduction in blood urea, nitrogen, total cholesterol, and triglycerides. And after they randomized this group with low protein diet. So one group received probiotic and another one placebo for 3 months. And they didn't show any results in probiotic group when we talk about uremic toxin, like indoxyl sulfate, picoxyl sulfate. But they concluded that the placebo group had the increase of this uremic toxin after 3 months. But it's important to notice that the probiotic group didn't change anything. So when we talk about probiotic in patients with chronic kidney disease, it's important to know that when you have imbalance in the gut microbiota imbalance and we provide probiotic, we can increase more toxins, uremic toxins, and this uremic toxin can damage epithelial tight junctions, increase the LPS, increase the signaling of tool-like receptor 4, increase activation of NF-kappa B, and promote inflammation. Of course, on the other hand, when we have a balance gut microbiota, maybe this probiotic can be useful and reduce inflammation. But we don't know how is the gut microbiota composition at that moment that we provide probiotic. So we need to pay attention when we prescribe a probiotic for our patients with chronic kidney disease. So talking about prebiotic, so prebiotic gut microbiota balance, what is the evidence? So prebiotic are non-digestible carbohydrates that act selectively stimulating the growth and activity of beneficial bacteria in the colon, such as bifidobacteria. So prebiotic can feed the bacteria. So that's it. So this was the first study. So it was 10 years ago. This group from Belgium, they prescribed resistant starch. It's a kind of fiber, a kind of prebiotic, and they observed that there was a fiber group, so they used this resistant starch in a control group. So 20 patients in each group, and they observed after six weeks that the fiber group who received the resistant starch, they showed a reduction of indoxyl sulfate and picoxyl sulfate levels when they use this kind of fiber. In this study from 2015, it was in 14 non-dialysis patients. this group from Australia, they observed that when they did this index, so protein and fiber, they observed that when the patients eat more protein than fiber, the uremic toxin like picorysyl sulfate or indoxyl sulfate are increased. So protein can be linked with the production of uremic toxin. This was another study from 2016. So it was also in non-dialysis patients. They provide the prebiotic, this kind of prebiotic, 10 grams twice daily, and maltodextrin for 4 weeks. And the only results, they analyze the picorysyl, urea, and picorysyl indoxyl sulfate. The only significant result they observed was in TMAO levels that was reduced after using prebiotic in these patients. It's important to know that when I talked about resistant starch, it was the first study that I show you is a kind of fiber. So this resistant starch, when they is fermented by gut microbiota, then increase the production of acetate, propionate, and butyrate. So they are short chain fatty acid, and they have many benefits for health. So the short chain fatty acid is a good link between prebiotic and microbiota in patients with chronic kidney disease. So it's very important, the short chain fatty acid, when the short chain fatty acids are produced by gut microbiota, because can promote the good permeability and barrier, intestinal barrier. So it's important to know that short chain fatty acid is linked to prebiotic. So this was another study from my group. My students made cookies with resistant starch, and we gave our patients these cookies with resistant starch for 1 month, and we had a washout period, and after crossover these patients. So who received placebo at the beginning, they received the cooks and the sachet with the resistant starch in non-dialysis days. So these patients were undergoing hemodialysis, and see the interesting results. So T-bars is a lipid marker, peroxidation marker. So the levels were reduced after using these cookies, and interleukin-6 also reduced after using the cookies made with resistant starch. Indoxyl sulfate is a uremic toxin that I'm talking here about the uremic toxin. So we observed a significant reduction in the levels of indoxyl sulfate after using resistant starch. Also, we analyzed the gut microbiota composition after using these cookies. And we observed that this kind of strain of gut microbiota is involved with inflammation. They were reduced after the intervention. And when you observe this kind of strain, the abundance was increased. And it's important to know that these are the short chain fatty acid producer. So maybe the resistant starch is a good option to treat the patients when we talking about modulation of gut microbiota and reduction of uremic toxin. This was another study published in 2021. The authors studied this ripe banana flour, so it's rich in resistant starch, that kind of fiber that I'm talking about. So in peritoneal dialysis, they provide for 4 weeks, And they had a washout and a crossover study, but they didn't observe any change in the uremic toxin. But when they observed in a subgroup of patients, they observed a reduction in oxyl sulfate after using the unripe banana flour, that it's some kind of source of resistance starch. So when you talk about symbiotic are the association of both pre and probiotic. So about symbiotic in patients with chronic kidney disease, so this study from 2016, they analyzed the 31 CKD patients in 4-5 stages for 6 weeks, and they offer this kind of symbiotic. So prebiotic, so inulin, oligosaccharides, and galacto-oligosaccharides, and also probiotic components for 6 weeks. And they observed a reduction in picoresyl sulfate, and also symbiotics alterate these two microbiome, particularly, with enrichment of bifidobacterium and depletion of hominococci. Sorry, this is very difficult to say, but the results are more important than my talk. So it's important to know that the symbiotic can reduce uremic toxin and modulate gut microbiota. So this was a study in 2019, and they observed that patients undergoing hemodialysis, when they used this symbiotic, this kind of prebiotic and probiotic milk for 7 weeks, they observed a reduction in picoresyl sulfate, indoxyl sulfate, and urea, and they observed increase in butyrate. So it's a short chain fatty acid that I told you before, and also decrease the pH. So maybe it's important. This is another study, was published in 2022. They used a symbiotic with this kind of strands together with FOS. So it's a kind of prebiotic. So this symbiotic for 2 months, and they didn't observe any results. So nothing to see here with this symbiotic study. So when this systematic review, they observed the picoresyl sulfate is more altered. The levels of picoresyl sulfate are more altered when used prebiotic, but we cannot see many interesting results about indoxyl sulfate. And now I finished my talk about pre, pro, and symbiotic. So if you ask me, what do you think? I can say I have no answer exactly, because we don't have many results saying that, okay, you can offer probiotic or prebiotic or symbiotic. Maybe symbiotic can be more effective than the pro or prebiotic alone. So, but we talk about nutrition, so we can talk about dietary pattern. So when you talk about the general diet, not only the supplementation with one pre or probiotic or symbiotic, we can see that the diet can modulate microbiota. This was a study. It was a study from my group. The patients, non-dialysis CKD patients, they start to receive a low protein diet prescription, so 0.6, and we. After 6 months, we analyzed the uremic toxin plasma levels in the group that have a good adhesion of the diet and no adhesion group. So we can see that in this group, when the patients who had a good adhesion for low protein diet, the precrucial sulfate reduced significantly after 6 months. So when we reduce protein intake, we can reduce the uremic toxin production by gut microbiota. This is very interesting, but there is no many study about this. It's quercetin. This polyphenol can block the tryptophan in the gut, and maybe the tryptophan cannot enter in the cell and produce indoxyl sulfate. So maybe quercetin can be a good strategy to modulate the uremic toxin. So when you talk about food and food as medicine, I can say something about curcumin. So at the beginning, we start to study curcumin because of this, because curcumin is a good strategy to reduce inflammation. Because curcuminoids can block or can inhibit NF-kappa B and can stimulate or activate NRF2. So increase antioxidant synthesis and decrease cytokine synthesis. So curcumin is very interesting. Indeed, we observed after 3 months, the hemodialysis patient using this juice with orange juice, carrots, and curcumin 3 times per week. So we offer this juice during dialysis for 3 months. And we observed in the curcumin group, the NF-kappa B expression was reduced when compared to the control group. So the control group received a juice like this, but without curcumin. So wonderful. So curcumin is very good. And also, we analyzed the uremic toxin, doxyl sulfate, picrosyl sulfate, and indole acetic acid after this juice. So the curcumin juice group had a reduction of picrosyl sulfate plasma levels after 3 months using this juice. So, and when you talk about propolis, so propolis is a bee product, and we have many studies with propolis. Again, we are using propolis because it's a good anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. But also, why not analyze uremic toxin when we are using propolis? So we have another results when you talk about inflammation and oxidative stress in our patients. But this study, it was published in this year. We offered 400 milligrams of Brazilian green propolis for 2 months for hemodialysis patients, but we didn't see any results in indoxyl sulfate, picrosyl sulfate, and indole acetic acid after using propolis in our patients. Also, we have this paper from my group, and we used 500 milligrams of dry cranberry extract for also 2 months, and again, we didn't see any results about LPS, indoxyl sulfate, picrosyl sulfate, and indole acetic acid plasma levels after cranberry extract. So no significant change in uremic toxin. Now we submitted this paper. It was a study from my PhD student. But here we did a shot, a mix with propolis and curcumin. So we prepared this and we offered for 2 months for patients undergoing hemodialysis, and we didn't observe any results when we talk about indoxyl sulfate, picrosyl sulfate, but there was a tendency to reduce indole 3-acetic acid. Maybe we can increase the dose, or maybe we can increase the time of supplementation, or maybe both. So maybe we can have some significant results in this uremic toxin. So when you talk about food and microbiota and uremic toxin, we cannot forget the fermented food. So the fermented food is very important for our microbiota. So in this review, we discussed how important are the fermented food for microbiota, but not only for microbiota, because the dairy, fruits, vegetables, meat, or cereals, when they are fermented, this fermentation process increase the nutrients, provide prebiotic, probiotic, increase digestibility, increase phenolic acid, flavonoids, short-chain fatty acids, vitamins, small peptides, and improve the organoleptic characteristics. So this is important. So kimchi or bread or cheese or yogurt can modulate the gut microbiota and maybe decrease the production of uremic toxin. So the fermented food can modulate the gut microbiota, increase intestinal barrier integrity, and also the fermented food can modulate NF-kappa B, and also NRF2. So we can inhibit inflammation and increase antioxidant production with fermented food. So we need use more fermented food instead of processed food. So the fermented food has good immunomodulatory effects, so decrease inflammation, oxidative stress, inflammation. I have no time to talk about this, but it's inflammation and the premature aging in our patients. So we have many benefits from the fermented food, the cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and for our patients with chronic kidney disease. Still, this fermented food produce all these bioactive compounds, and this is very good for modulation of gut microbiota. Even this, the short-chain fatty acids. So the fermented food can increase the production of short-chain fatty acid, as I show you, is very important to modulate not only gut microbiota, but the permeability, intestinal barrier in our patients. So in summary, where we have CKD patients is characterized by the accumulation of protein-bound uremic toxins, which are closely associated with CKD progression, CVD, so cardiovascular disease, and mortality. Some uremic toxin originate in the gut and remain in the blood in CKD patients because of impaired renal clearance. So it's important to know that when you have a gut dysbiosis, we can have an increase of uremic toxin production. And these uremic toxin are associated with cardiovascular disease and mortality. So nutritional strategy may modulate the gut microbiota and consequently reduce the production of uremic toxin. So thank you very much.